What's going on all you gamers? Today we're back with a little bit more Outriders Worldslayer. What we're in today is why I believe that now the death-proof set on the Devastator is very possibly the most powerful set you can have. So if you want to know how to become an absolute beast with that firepower Devastator, then stay tuned. That's coming up next. Welcome back everybody. Today we're going to be focusing on the Devastator and one of the older worse sets, the Death-Proof set. Now how I believe it's very possibly the most powerful one for the Devastator in the game, definitely for its firepower builds. Now I'm just going to chuck on a little bit of footage to show you what it's all about. As always, if this helps out, a like would be super appreciated, and if you'd like to become a member of the channel for more gaming content, then why not hit that subscribe bell or follow me over on Twitter. But for now I'm going to chuck on a little bit of footage showing you what the firepower Devastator can do, and this is with a very non-perfect build and still gearing up at Apocalypse level 22. Right, so hopefully from that footage you can see just how powerful this fella is. He rips things to pieces. He can also tear things to pieces with AoE damage if you want to. If you want to chuck on a secondary gun that's got a lot of AoE, it works perfect as well. But the Devastator, now with his death-proof set and all of the changes they've made, is an absolute beast, and I'm going to show you why. So firstly, with the latest patch, what they've done is changed these so that it's on any skill activation. So Champion, using skill increases your weapon damage by 45% for 10 seconds. 10 seconds means that you've got this up almost constant. Before, if I remember correctly, this was only on protection skills, so sometimes you would have a little bit of downtime depending on your cooldowns and such. Also, right at the end here, you have 70% weapon damage for 10 seconds, and notice what it comes on, you get it with Boulder Dash. The death-proof set is all about Boulder Dash. Boulder Dash, before, if you used it as a Devastator, you probably completely jogged it on because it was absolutely awful. They have done quite a few updates to it, and now it is in a much better place. You can cancel out of it by pressing the same button again, activating that slam on the floor. You can activate it whenever you want with the Boulder Dash set, with probably lower than a 0.8 cooldown. If I go over to my one, like I said, I don't think I've actually got much cooldown in my build whatsoever, and mine's at 0.8, meaning you can do this whenever you want. But with the firepower Devastator, you won't even be using this for its actual AoE or for its damage, you're just going to be using this as a kind of activator. Now quickly going over the set, just in case you don't know, 3 pieces of the death-proof set reduce the cooldown of Boulder Dash by 90% and increase firepower by 30% of your armour. There are a lot of ways to get a lot of armour with the Devastator. That chucks straight across your firepower, meaning that you boost it up dramatically. Even though it's only 30%, you've got a lot of options available. For example, if I wanted to bop all the way down and pick up some of these nodes, I very well could, boosting my armour even further. Jumping over to its packs tree, if we have a little look, the main way you're going to be going, I would say this is 100% essential for anyone that's using a death-proof set. Jump up the top path, this is going to be your actual damage with your weapons. You're going to increase your weapon damage by 30% and magazine size by 50%. Next up, you can grab whichever one of these you need. Hardened will give you a little bit of mitigation, or just up here will give you a little bit of weapon leech, but you don't really have to worry too much about that unless you're changing your build around. Next up, you've got a nice little bit of extra damage here. Percentage is increased by your missing magazine. So at low magazine size, you're going to do some really chunky numbers. And killing shots replenish 35% of your magazine as well, making it really nice, and you won't have to reload much. Next up, we've got Armoured Division, increasing your armour piercing by 20% and reduce your kinetic skill cooldown by 50% of your armour piercing value. Again, that goes towards your death proof set, it goes towards your skill cooldown. You can activate a boulder dash whenever you want, and you could chuck in some other kinetic skills if you fancied it. And the cream on top of the crop against devastating odds. Damaging at least 3 enemies with a kinetic skill grants you 30% armor pierce for 4 seconds. But the best thing about this is damaging less enemies makes your shots critical shots for 4 seconds. When you're on those arbiters, when you're on those single targets, when you're on those bosses, this comes into play and it makes every single shot you're doing 100% crit. All you've got to do is whenever those crits fall off, activate your boulder dash and you've got 100% uptime on your crit damage again. This, I would say, is semi-ridiculous and can make some of your builds just a lot of fun to play for that single target damage. But here's the fun part, some of the mods that you can put on your weapons, that you can put on your build, just make him pretty much invincible and make him an absolute force to be reckoned with. A couple that I would say you'll definitely want would be Primal Armour. Boulder Dash now doubles your armour when the skill ends. Remember, that's going to crack across to your firepower, meaning you can devastate anything. You really can, it is a lot of fun, especially if you manage to pick up a little bit armour than myself. Plate Piercer, again, your critical damage now is equal to 50% of your armour piercing. If you've got a lot of armour piercing going on, make sure you pick up Plate Piercer, because this is going to help you no end to do that crit damage, which you can do whenever you want. Again, Primal Chain Gun, Boulder Dash, every enemy damaged by the skill increases your weapon damage by 20% for 5 seconds, stacking up to 5 times. Perfect for single target, even better if you're multi-targeting, because you're going to be able to crack it all the way up to 100% if you're in a big old group. Also, if you've got on Tremor, Power of the Stones, when the skill is activated, all party members are given 30% weapon damage bonus for 8 seconds. Now, I tried this, unless my game's gone wrong, it ups my damage as well, so as long as that's still working for you, that's 100% worth having in a build as long as you can fit Tremor in. Other amazing mods to look out for, like on the gloves that you've got here for the Death Proof set, doubles your armour whenever your health drops below 35%. Again, if you're struggling, if you've been hit very hard, you're gonna hit them back very hard because it's armour, it's gonna go on top of your firepower, you're gonna just destroy them as long as you can regain a bit of health. Which we can do with Ready for Anything. 5% of your critical damage dealt to elites is returned to you as health. As long as you're keeping up your crits and as long as you're able to keep up your Boulder Dash, which you pretty much should be able to, because when we go over to Boulder Dash, it also gives you a 65% bonus to incoming damage negation. If you've got this on, if you've got Golem on, you're going to be ridiculously tanky and it's going to be a lot of fun to play. Like I said, then you're going to get all of your health back on those bosses just from shooting at them. Try to get some other stuff in your build like Kingslayer, because again, you're completely critting. This means your firepower is going to go through the roof just because you've got that on, because it's a guaranteed buff. Again, if you can find anything else such as Damage Absorber, I would say that's almost ideal. It's going to give you a nice bit of damage negation, nice bit of resistance, and again, will go straight over to your firepower. Other things to look out for, I would probably say, for myself, submachine guns seem to be the best with the Death Proof set by quite a long margin, as long as you can get some high damage rolls on them. Armor Pierce works amazing because then it's going to crack straight across to your crit damage, and Fortress is second to none. Shots increase your current armor and resistance by 5%, stacking up to 3 times. At maximum stacks, the buff is doubled and additionally grants you 25% damage increase for 10 seconds. You'll have this constant, you've got more negation than you need, you've now got a lot of damage, and it's going to give you a nice bit of armor that again is going to go over to your firepower. Strager, if you're struggling at all with anything that's not those bosses or elites, 10% of your critical damage is returned to you as health, again making you nigh on unkillable. Other amazing ones to look out for are First Things First. This is going to give you a nice bit of piercing, it's going to give you a nice bit of damage, it's going to give you a nice bit of critical damage, and of course you've got Dark Sacrifice. You can put Dark Sacrifice into this build quite easy by just mucking around with some of your mods. And this during combat is going to take a bit of your health, now 25%, in exchange for 35% weapon damage bonus. If you manage to get this on a really high rolling damage submachine gun, you will see the difference and it will rocket your damage and crit damage through the roof. Other ones to look out for, anything like Sharp Eye, anything that's going to give you a nice bit of buff to your firepower, will make this set second to none. I honestly think the way they've designed this now, because of how they've changed the trees and such and the packs tree, and just for the sheer fact that you can activate that crit whenever you want, makes this the most flexible armor set, because you can kind of chuck a load of mods because you know you're going to crit, and it's a lot of fun whilst you do it. For example, you've got Blood Potion, which will mean you're just guaranteed your health regen if you want it. Again, you've got Reforging Bullets. It might sound stupid, but things like this can also work with this set. Critical shots on enemies afflicted with burn don't consume your ammo. Now, obviously, we are probably not going to be doing that with a Devastator, but because your melee actually creates bleed, it means that if you are using certain weapon mods on your weapon, for example, this one right here, Anomaly Mutation, when you hit them with that punch, you're going to make sure that they bleed, then you're going to hit that, it's going to multiplicate, and with those bosses, you're then going to be able to get fire on, you're then going to be able to get burn on them as well, meaning that you won't consume ammo. There's a ridiculous amount that you can do. Other great ones, if you were going for a more hybrid arms and anomaly, crit shots are going to give you that extra anomaly power, or for almost immortality, just down here, self-medication. Increase your max health by 20% when any skill starts its cooldown. Because you can spam that skill as much as you want, this is going to stack 3 times, allowing you to get up to 60% extra on top of your max health. With the regen going on in the build, with how much you hit, with the crits, with the damage, with you getting everything back from that, you're pretty much invincible as long as you're able to keep shooting. Well, you gamers, let me know in the comments what you all think. Obviously, I'm a little bit new to Devastator, so let me know if I'm overreaching, but from what I've seen so far, this makes the game an absolute doddle, and it's a lot of fun playing with. As always, Full Things Gaming, Full Things Xbox, take care, I'll see you on the next day.